You might be a redneck if you have to use a stepladder to work on your truck. Alright, my last video, if you're watching them in order, would have been the desert trip down in central Utah. What you didn't see in that video, as cool as it looked, was the problems the truck was giving me. And I've got 5 different DTC codes flashing up, 4 of which are having to do with electrical systems, voltage problems, so on and so forth in the ignition control module, the mass airflow sensor, and the throttle position sensor. So all of these sensors seem to be having troubles. Most of them are pretty easy to get to. 2 of them are sitting right there. The ICM's back there. If you've been following along enough, you know I've been having troubles with the ICM for a while now. I think I know what it is, and it's something I've had in the truck since 2014. Sitting right down in there. So I am going to remove that MSD box out of here, because consensus is from people I've talked to and research I'm seeing on the internet, those things don't play well with the OBS's electronic systems. So now I get to dismantle all of that. So this part's actually pretty easy. This little clip thing comes off, and then I can pull this out, get in there. I don't know why this relay just hangs out on its own. I'm not sure where it's supposed to go. Tab looks broken off. But from here I can get into my MSD box and totally dismount it and start disassembling it and getting it out of here. What was this? This is some sort of factory setup right here that was for, it provides power for diagnostic tools. Had a clip on it, it was corroded, so you can see I taped it all off. Alright. Let's start disassembling the MSD box. I'm going to get it out of here. I don't want it anymore. Now it has a ground leading up to the battery, and all the other wiring is pretty much right here in this harness right here. So just trace all that down. One of the problems I think I'm having, oh man, it's going to be fun to get to. I got to tear apart the math anyway. I may end up pulling this off. But the original installers, because I didn't do the install on the MSD, when they tapped all this stuff into the factory harness, they used T-taps. And I am pretty certain that's half of my problem. As that gets wet, it gets shorts, I've got all kinds of problems in there. Because T-taps are nowhere near waterproof. So I'm going to tear it all out and go back to just more of a factory computer running system. This, of course, has been programmed by TurboLab. They reflashed it for running the Pro Charger right here. I'm talking when I need to be doing. It's already a hot June day. The more I talk, the hotter it gets. So here we go. Now, out of an abundance of caution, I am disconnecting the batteries. So taking the negative post off, so I've got no power to the whole system. While I'm screwing around with all this, I don't want any chance of fritzing this thing out. Nor do I want any other sensors that are, other than ones that are already probably messed up by what it was bad voltage, high voltage, low voltage, all kinds of things like that, and I really do believe it is this. So I'm going to take this off. No power there while I'm doing it. Should be safe that way.
There's a giant, massive, giant, big, medium, small, super small, little, small, tiny, super tiny.
Right? Alright, pulled it all the way out. The ignition plug that comes from the ignition control module coils, all that stuff back there. You see where it's tapped in at, and I think we're looking at a large part of the problems I've been having with this thing. If I get anything wet in there, I mean, I'm in Utah, it's dry most of the time, so it's fine. But the second, most of the times it happens, the second I'm trying to clean this engine bay off, all of that's open. None of it's watertight. So that's a horrible installation right there, and I'm about to undo it all. Which means I will probably, I don't know which way all the wires go and what they do. Good night. Yeah, I'm going to have to figure all this out, and I'm going to have to make it all watertight again. So my own crimp and heat shrink and everything like that. And fix this. Take the MSD 6 alpha box out. Go back to just stock ignition system, see if that works. Because the other thing that happens is any other spark plug that I put in here, this thing was burning them out way faster than it's supposed to. So all kinds of things it's doing that the OBS truck electronic system does not like. You know, on the 80s and 70s motors, those MSD boxes are probably beautiful. And a lot of people use them. So that's why I thought it'd be good for this one too. Evidently that was a bad thought. So here we go. And this is one of those things I wish I had done myself, because if this is doing what I think it's doing, I need to just plug that back into where I got this out of. This is just an interrupter, and there's no way I would have left like this. I would have crimped and heat shrunk all of this. I wouldn't have left it open had it been me. But since I didn't open the box and I let another shop freaking do the work for me, I don't know now. These plugs are the same. I think this one just goes back into where I got this one out of, and this whole harness is dead now. I can take it out. I think we'll find out in just a second. I think that just reaches back to where I got it from on the ignition system. And all of this stuff is done by feel. Yeah, that just fits right there. One of the nice things about putting that 1-inch body lift in here is I've got a lot more room here. And that is just the leads into the ignition coil. Initial control module's right here. If that thing is fried again, I'll be back in here as soon as those parts come. The other thing I'm looking at, oh, so much stuff, so hard to get to. Some of the stuff up front I can get to right now. All this stuff that doesn't have loom on it anymore, I'm going to put some on it. And then I'm going to wait for all those electronics to come. Ignition control module, mass air flow sensor, and I think that's my throttle position sensor right there. This looks like it right here. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. Throttle position sensor right there. So these two components have got to go, so does that ICM. Those were throwing codes anyway. We'll see with the MSD box out of there what happens to the truck now. I hope the tune that they put on it can work with this without the MSD box and be just fine. I'm not certain of that, but that's what I'm going to try. Alright, to clean up my loom, I'm going to get away from the old school stuff that's, you know, this traditional split loom junk. You can get this in high heat, and the factory did use that, but it goes brittle over time. 28-year-old, it goes away. So this stuff's the new stuff that they use. You know, it says it's used for automotive. This isn't telling me the temperatures. When I bought it, the description told me the temperatures, and it goes up to something like 500 degrees. But when you cut it off, you just simply use some scissors, and then you melt the ends of it, because you look at kind of frays here. So you just melt the ends of that with a lighter, and then you're good to go. And you notice how it coils in on itself. You'll be able to make it as tight as you want. I probably went too big. This is, which one was this, 1.5 inches? Yeah, 1.25 inches is what I went here. I probably only need 1 inch for the biggest trunk lines I've got, but I went bigger rather than that, and I can wrap it down around in there pretty tight like that when you get it there. So I'll get it to fit. It's just a little excessive for what I need. But they sell it in several sizes. I've got this 1.5 inches, or 1.25 inches, excuse me. And then I've got some 1/2 inch and some 3/8 inch, and I'm going to replace a lot of the stuff that's broken. Not everything. If it's still in there, still good, I'm leaving it, but any of the ones that are broken and missing, getting replaced with this right now. Reminds me of as a kid playing around with paracord, parachute cord. Same kind of idea, just fuse the ends of it. Not the cleanest cut ever, but yeah, I don't know if they use a hot knife at the factory. They probably do. Just make sure it's all melted in on itself. And that's that. And then you go put it in just like you would your normal split loom. Get it to coil back in on itself. There's a little bit of work. Trying to get it to wrap as tightly as possible. And the biggest thing you want this for is abrasion resistance. So you're not wearing through any wires or causing damage to them that way. I'm curious to see right here, does it go back to this factory clip? It's pretty close, we'll see. Get the wrap tighter. Yeah, I've got that factory clip wrapped. And there we go. I think for belts and suspenders I am going to put some zip ties in along here. Now, be nice to your future self, get some of these flush cutters. It cuts them off pretty neat, doesn't leave too much of a sharp edge on them. So that way when you're reaching down in here, you're not slicing yourself on that zip ties excess. This little bundle right here, that's where it gets messy. It's getting, again, this relay whose purpose I do not know. Dang it, I should have zipped it right there. I will zip it right here just to keep it from rattling around and going places it shouldn't. I don't know what that is. I don't know what it does. I don't know where it was supposed to be clipped on before. You can see here, this leaves a lot easier to expand when you come out to these multiples here. I may take some of the 1/2-inch stuff and put it on these just to clean all this up as well. Since this is the main PCM, I don't want any of that abraded anywhere. So I may wait on this in just a second. But yeah, these little flush cutters. Boom. Okay, there's several hours worth of work. I didn't get all of it. If it's in place and still decently intact, I'm leaving that old loom in. But I put the braided loom on everything that was coming off. You know, all of up here, all of down there, all this whole trunk line here, everything where it was dried, cracked, corroded, and coming off. A little bit down there. It's in there. Now I still got some left over. If as I'm working on other things I find the need to replace it, I will. But for now, that takes care of the ones that were bothering me the most. It's a lot of tedious work. Now I have learned with this truck to only get AC Delco when it comes to sensors and electronics and stuff like that. So I got the MAF. One of those is the ICM, one is the TPS. Need to install those and maybe the truck will start. Part of me does think that as in times past when the ICM goes out, if I replace just the ICM, the truck will probably fire up and do just fine. But the fact that I had codes on the MAF and the TPS, I've got them. I'm going to change them out. 3 sensors we're looking for. MAF is easy. TPS is down there. I've got an entire video on the ICM, which is back there in a pain in the butt spot. But those are the ones I'm going for. So I'm going to go do the easiest one first, the TPS, then the MAF, and then I'll go after the ICM. So all I got to do is unhook this and this, those hose clamps. I can get the MAF out, get the new one in. I'll take a look at what this one looks like. I'm curious. This filter's not dirty. Sometimes you get codes because things are dirty. We didn't really get into that much dust, so I don't think it's because the filter's maintenance needed to be done. There's something wrong with that. Okay. T20 pulls those two out, but then it will not come out. You've got to loosen up your throttle body. It is jammed in there pretty good. I mean, they gave just enough on the intake, just enough clearance to fit that sucker in there. Occurs to me, if I put a spacer on this thing, sometimes you do that on throttle bodies, it would have been easy to get to. Might be a reason to go get a spacer, except for the fact that all my tubing is already plumbed for what it is. That might not be that hard. I don't know. Something to think about if I ever have to do it again. But 10 millimeter bolts to get those loosened. I need to get that one. Those ones I've got off hand tight. I don't want to take it all the way off. I want to get just enough to be able to pull that out, put the new one on. Alright, yeah, all I got to do is loosen it up just a bit. I only took off the one nut, hardest one to get to. Notice there's a, what do you call that? D-shaped type. There's a name for that. There is a name for that, but it's D-shaped. It fits in there. You see that fits the same way. So that should go there. Fits right in. All I got to do is put those back in, tighten up the throttle body. Gasket and all is still in place. That still looks good. Hopefully we tighten it up. No leaks, no problems later from just wanting to replace a simple sensor. $43 sensor, AC Delco. I figure the old one's AC Delco as well. I don't know enough about sensors. So I'll put a new one in. Since I had a code on it, put a new one in, call it good. 43 bucks is worth my peace of mind. I don't know how old that other one is. Could be the original. Now, because I'm being a little bit paranoid, dielectric grease. May not actually be necessary because a lot of these are gasketed. But again, belts and suspenders. And some of the stuff on this truck is so old, it's not holding as well as I would like it to. That's clipped in. That's clipped in, so that's done. I mean, like this one down in here. I don't even know what that sensor is. Comment below if you do. Water temperature, maybe? got a ground right there, but that one, the clip is broken, so it's not staying in. I don't know how to get in there and make it stay in. Looking for that sensor. 5 volt out, ground. I don't know what it is. Might be water temperature, but I don't know how to get to that to make it stay. I'm gonna have to look up and find some of those connectors, pull this little bit of wiring out, and put a new connector on the end of it. That's about the only way to go after that and fix it. And there's a couple of them in here that are like that. This one, since I can reach it, I just taped it on. I don't know if that's actually on tight enough. Again, I have to get a whole bunch of those connectors. That's a whole nother all-day project. Alright, mass airflow sensor. Let's go after this. Alright, that's pretty simple. This is an AC Delco unit. Could probably clean it off. You can get the spray, but you see the little leads in there. Those are so freaking delicate. Tiniest little damage to them and the thing is shot. This one is an AC Delco unit though. So, I don't know. I'll set this on the shelf in a box where it's protected. I'll put the new one in, call it good. We'll see. Alright, 2 down, 1 to go. And I can't help myself, all that stuff was messed up, so I put some of that new loom on it. Alright, as I suspected, the ICM back there, because you only can do it by feel, was the hardest. Fought me the most. One little tip, and here's how I know that one. The fins, it has a little aluminum deal. I've shown it on the other video, I'm sure. The fins are supposed to be on that side, not this side. You can't put it on the other way. So the fins are towards the coil. If those fins are towards the coil, you can line up those little 5.5 millimeter bolts pretty quickly, pretty easily. Good night, I fought that for a long time until I realized that was what I was doing. It's like the 4th time I've changed one of these, so you'd think I'd know what I'm doing by now. It shows you what happens when you're tired. Yeah, all of this is done. Let's see if she starts up. That is not a good sign. I don't know what I've got going on. By pulling the freaking 6A box, have I now killed it? Check engine lights on. I'll try pulling codes again, see what it's saying. So I don't use this programmer anymore, but I do use it to actually pull codes down. It's the only thing I've got that'll do it. And I'm still getting that P0102 and the P1351. That one has to do with the air pump. I'm not worried about that one. But the 102, that was one of the voltage errors for one of the sensors. I'd have to go look it up again. I wrote it down inside. And it may be because I removed that 6 alpha box that now I'm not getting the voltage I'm supposed to get because that's how they tuned it. Well, not much I can do about that right now. I don't have anything more than this for diagnostic tools. I don't know. You don't always win. You don't always win. Alright, it's a new day. Yesterday I talked to the guys at Turbo Lab and they said removing the MSD box should not have caused a problem. If I'm still throwing a code for these, then it's this. Begs the question, made in USA, that's great. How do they test these before they box them up and ship them out? Do they have some sort of computer that does a functions check on them or what? Or do they just make them and send them? Because if I replace this and it actually makes it work, oh my goodness. I don't know, that's what I'm going to try. It's about the only thing I can do. I think the secondary code from the MAF sensor is just related to this. The MAF's not going to work right if this isn't doing the timing right. I hope. That's my theory. We'll see how good I am on this one. So, whew, this is another one of those 15-minute jobs. As long as I do it right, I can actually do it in 15 minutes, as long as I'm not trying to put it in backwards. Okay, yeah, it's literally a 5-minute swap when you're doing it correctly. Now, let's try starting this thing up, see if that was exactly what it is. Did I get a faulty one, or is there something bigger going on with this truck? If it's something bigger, we're out of my depth, and I'm going to have to hand this over to the shop. Have them put their better diagnostic tools on it and figure out what's going on. I don't see, and obviously I've been through all of the wiring, I don't see any major breaks or scuffs or anything disconnected. I haven't found anything that would make this not want to run. Alright, I'm out of my depth. That's not starting, which means, well, now I've got a spare ICM that's going to go in the glove box. As I'm guessing it's not the ICM. My only thing to do is get it towed to the shop, have them put their better diagnostic computers on it. And let's figure out what's going on, because I don't know. I really don't know. Like I said, I'm just a combat parts changer. I see codes, I can address the codes as I see them. If parts need to be swapped, I swap them, and if it works, I'm great. If not, I'm sitting where I'm sitting right now. But that is just the most frustrating thing about these 90s trucks, these OBSs, is the electronics weren't the best back then. It was all pretty new technology, basically. They came up with this stuff in the 70s and 80s, put it on the trucks in the 90s, and I don't know, you guys with the newer trucks, your stuff work better? Your sensors do better? Your electronic engine management system do better? Because this one doesn't. It's frustrating when it does this. And so I got to tap out now. I got to tap out and send this over to the shop, have them figure out what the heck is going on with this. If you come this far, appreciate you watching. Pay attention to Instagram. That's probably where I'll post when I've got it back up and what happened to it. Appreciate you watching. We'll catch you on the next one.